Hey, and welcome to the Fully Booked Photographer podcast. And we're back with you, all four of us, but it's a little bit complicated because I had a small medical procedure, so I'm still drugged up. So if I say something that is not good, you forgive me, okay? And then we have Jonathan and Brad. Brad is over visiting us in Ireland, so Brad and Jonathan are sitting side by side too. And good job, you guys can't see what they're up to. But we'll get into that in a little bit. And then, of course, we have the amazing Jeanine who's going to pull this podcast all together because she's the only one with the intelligence, the ability, the presence to pull this whole podcast back together again. But I believe Jonathan's going to give it a lash. So, Jonathan, over to you first.
Yeah, so what really fascinates me is not being a photographer. It's difficult sometimes to understand the inner workings of a photography studio and kind of what happens on a week by week basis, a day by day basis. Like, do you, like, as photographers, do you just go in and take photos of people? Like, what's the process? What happens when clients arrive? What do you like measure or track on a weekly basis? What activities do you typically do? So I'd like to start with Jeanine. Get to Brad after. So Jeanine, you run a very successful children's studio in Tampa, Florida, like all of our listeners know. But I'm really curious. So it's Monday morning. What happens?
Monday morning. Such a fun day of the week. So for me, my day starts with getting 90% of the year, right? Even during summer, actually, because of summer camps and whatnot. My day starts with having to get the kids up and ready for school. So on the days that I have my kids, which I have them, several days of the week, and so we have a joint custody arrangement. But on my days, I have to get up at 6 a.m., get up, get myself ready, get two kids ready, pack lunches, backpacks, all that good stuff, get them in the car, and then I have to take both kids to school. So it's usually about an hour of getting them all ready and then an hour round trip and dropping the kids off at their various schools and then getting back to the studio. So my day actually starts about 2 hours before I actually arrive to the studio because of all the kid duties and getting them ready. But it's fun, like when I'm driving them to school. It's it's usually when I get some podcast listening in. So I'll listen to podcasts. Drives my kids crazy. And it's funny. When James was little, I didn't realize that he actually could hear what I was listening to, and I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk podcast. And then one day, one of James's words was not such a pleasant one. And I was like, oh, shoot. I probably should have listened to these podcasts with the kids in the car. So now most of I'll listen to our podcast when the kids are in the car, and then I'll listen to other business podcasts after drop off and then on the way back to the studio. So that's when I get a lot of my active listening in, business-wise, or audiobooks and things like that. So I make good use of that time, even though it's driving time. Then when I get into the studio, a Sunday night is actually when my week starts, because Sunday night is when I will plan out items that I need to do for the week. Obviously, because my Monday morning, it's not like I can get in bright and early and get started. I have that whole 2-hour routine that I do. So I lay out my week the night before on Sunday. That way, when I get into the studio Monday morning, I'm ready to go. It's typically only a few, like maybe 15 or 20 minutes before we start our morning call. So the first thing that I have in the morning is you guys, right? So I get to see you guys bright and early every day. And so I work on that. We work on all of our fully booked photographer items, depending on the day of the week. We have different themed days on the work that we do. And then, so my day at the studio actually doesn't even start till 10:30. So you might think like, oh my gosh, you don't start your day till 10:30 at the studio, but I'm very efficient with my time. So that's usually typically my first session of the day, which works well for children. I usually have one booked every day of the week, because 10:30 is a happy time for kids. 10:30.
So let me stop you there for 1 second. Yeah. So your first session of the day is at 10:30. So how many sessions a week would you typically be looking to do?
So it depends on the week, but in general, we look to do 2 to 3 a day and then 5 on a Saturday.
So you work, well, I'm sure you work 7 days a week, but 6 days a week in the studio.
Correct.
Photographing.
And then when we're doing themed weekends like this weekend or in November when we're photographing the holidays, we do 7 days a week. We'll photograph Sundays as well.
So if you have your first session at 10:30 on a Monday, like, what happens? Do your clients just arrive and knock on the door and you say, oh, hey, nice to see you. Come on in. Let's take these wonderful photographs. And then you switch it on when you're behind the camera and make them all laugh and giggle and create amazing artwork and photography, because that's what it's all about, right?
Right, yeah, it's that simple. So what we actually do is the clients usually arrive when I'm on the phone with you guys. And because you guys hear it, right? I'm like, oh, I gotta go, clients are here. But I have an awesome team, and Sarah is the greeter. And so Sarah will she'll be hanging up front for about 15 minutes before a client's supposed to arrive, doing some tasks up there so she can see when they pull up. And remember, most of my clients are people with young children, so they're schlepping a lot of stuff. So they could have a baby in a car seat and then bags of clothes and props and things that they want to incorporate into the session. So Sarah actually walks out the door. So when she sees that our client has arrived, she'll walk out the door. Occasionally she gets it wrong and it's someone for a doctor next door. And she's like, oh, sorry. But for the most part, you can kind of tell that they're coming in for a portrait session. So she'll go and greet them and ask them if she can help bring anything in. And moms love that because despite, evolution, moms haven't grown a third arm to help them carry all the stuff they need to carry. So Sarah goes to help them do that. She brings them in and she'll usually say, Jeanine's just finishing up a phone call right now and she'll be right out. But while we're waiting for her, if you want, we can put all your stuff here. Let's talk. And she gets them kind of talking and settling in while I'm wrapping up with you guys if clients arrive early. And then I come on out and I greet them and we go through their outfits and kind of, I need the baby to settle. They need the baby needs to understand that mom's not leaving, baby's not being dropped off, and that I'm not a doctor's office, right? Because typically most babies, those are the only places they get taken to. They either get taken to a doctor and they're going to get poked and prodded with shots, or they're dropped off at a babysitter or daycare and mom's leaving, neither of which are pleasant experiences. So I need them to realize that mom is here to stay. We're going to have some fun. And so my tone of voice really goes lower and softer. And so I'll sit and we talk. We sit on the ground. I'll play with the baby while I'm talking with mom. And we just get that whole sense of everything's okay while we're going through the outfits and laying out the plan for the session.
So Jeanine, I'd love to go backwards if I could stop, rewind.
Sure.
I want to go back to Sunday night, right? What do you do Sunday night in that planning piece? Like, how long does it last and what are you doing?
So I do Sunday night because it's the only time I'm alone. I'm never alone. I never have alone time ever. So there's always people around. There's always kids around. There's always people everywhere. And so I never get that time to be alone where I can actually think and plan. So the only time I really have that is Sunday night after the kids go to bed. And usually, my teenager's pretty moody and she's up in her room doing whatever it is that she's doing, playing games, talking to her friends, doing homework. And so she's not really spending time with mom either on a Sunday night. So James is in bed, Erin's up doing things with her friends, and then it's just me. So I sit down, I have my Remarkable, I have my calendar, and I just plan out the week. And it's a time for me to decompress and unstress and when my brain is kind of empty, and I'm good at night. I know a lot of people can't work at night. My brain is pretty open at nighttime, and I work well at nighttime. So I sit and I sketch out the whole week, plan my tasks, really do a brain dump of everything that has to happen this week. Then I go back and figure out what days each thing can happen. And that's kind of how I do it out. So for this week, this is everything I want to accomplish. Usually there's a lot of marketing tasks in there because that's my main focus in the studio besides photographing, is I do all of the marketing and all the lead generation for the studio. So what marketing things do I need to get done this week? What client happiness things do I need to get done this week? And then so I pretty much lay out the whole list of tasks for the team and then figure out who's going to get what when and lay it out day by day. And then for each day, these are the 3 most important things that have to get done today, besides our sessions, obviously, because clearly our clients come first, right? So everything stops when a session is in progress. But what besides the photographing, for some reason that word always trips me up, the photographying, besides photographing our clients, what are the 3 main business items that have to get done? And then everything on top of that, if it gets done, is a bonus. But I have to structure it out for the whole team running. So I don't know I don't think it's micromanaging. It's just good planning. Like I need to, I'll plan out for Sarah all the production tasks she has to get done. And for our new booker and new salesperson, because we've just had a changeover in the studio, it's going to be a planning of the things that they have to get done. And then we have overall projects for the studio. We're launching a new project coming up here in the next week or 2 which I will plan out. That'll be something else that I add, and then I plan out who's going to do what tasks for it. So that's a lot of what I do on a Sunday night. And it just helps clear my brain, allows me to focus, and allows me to go in Monday morning, not behind the 8 ball. If I waited till Monday morning, God, could you imagine? It would be horrible. I would have 2 hours of dropping off kids at school. I'd talk to you guys for an hour and a half. I'd have a session at 10:30. I wouldn't even start my Monday then till noon. And then I would have to sit and try and plan out the whole week. Well, week's already over. Monday's already half gone, and I wouldn't really know what I'm doing. And then the danger with that, Ronan, is that if you wait until midday through Monday, or even Monday morning, now things are already coming at you. And if you don't have a plan of what you need to accomplish for your business, then everybody else's pain points hit you and everybody else's emergencies hit you, and you don't have a strict task list of things you have to get done to move your business forward. And you end up doing those things because they're loud and they're noisy and they're grabbing your attention, as opposed to the things that you need to do in order to get business done.
I'm really fascinated about this bit because, so do you do this then come Monday night? Do you tick off what you were to do, get done on Monday, and review what's for Tuesday before you go to bed as well on a Monday night? Is that just a Sunday night thing, or is that an every night thing?
So Sunday night is when I do it at home. Every day before I leave work, unless it's a bad day, and I can tell because I don't have time to do this. My last 10 minutes of the day is spent wrapping up the day. So I go through my list. What did I get done? What do I need to move till tomorrow? What are tomorrow's focus is going to be? And things like that. I can't really leave work without doing that. I try not to take work home. I work so many hours as it is that when I get home, I try not to work. And so I need to, if I don't clear out those tasks from my brain before walking out the studio doors, they follow me home, and then I'm thinking about them because I have a hard time shutting off. Shocking. So I do that before I leave work. So that way, when I leave, that's truly the end of my work day. I go home. I might do some social media stuff, but I don't really consider that work. I might reply to comments on Facebook or Instagram and things like that while watching TV with the kids. But other than that, I try not to work.
So what problems does your subconscious solve for you then on a Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night?
What problems do my subconscious solve? Usually it's ways, like the ideas that are always mulling through my head, Ronan, are ways that we can engage our clients more, ways that we can make them happier, ways that we can improve our journey, our interactions with our clients. I'll tell you, like the one that we're working on now is every time I get a Facebook memory, I'm like, gosh, why aren't we doing this with our clients? So I have 17 years of photographs of people's children. I should be sending Cloud9 memories to my clients. So that's the project that we're engaging on now. And so I'll have my team working on that. And we're going to send out, we have a printer here. We are going to send out Cloud9 memories in the mail to clients. So I'm working on systemizing that. So that's something my subconscious was working on, right? Like, how can I systemize this? How can I make sure that every week we're sending out 5 Cloud9 memories? And how can we get through all of our clients? And how can we systemize it to make sure everybody gets a memory within a year and things like that? So those are the types of things that my brain works on at night. Or I'm really conscious of what I watch on TV with the kids and commercials and games. And you'd be surprised, like, oh my gosh, the YouTube videos, like I said, our brains as business owners, you guys are the same way. It never shuts off. So like, I'll be watching YouTube videos with James and he'll be watching like a Mr. Beast video or something. And I'm like, oh, that's a really clever idea. Or I could do that in the studio, or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter who he's watching. Somehow I always get some kind of crazy harebrained idea as my brain is shut off on something that we could actually do in the studio or for fully booked photographer. Right. So sometimes I get some, like, it's not just the studio, it's this too, right? Working with you guys. So sometimes the ideas come flowing from that. I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to do this. Oh, this would be a great podcast. Oh, we need to bring this to our photography members within the fully booked photographer because this would be so cool. So sometimes just letting your brain shut off so you can look outside our industry and what others are doing really can be amazing.
So Brad, do you have a pre-sleep ritual?
Am I good? A pre-sleep ritual? Yeah, I do it every night before I go to bed or get in bed because I get in bed and fall instantly to sleep. Sleep escapes me most nights. But I go through my tasks for the next day and write everything out. So I go through what I've achieved that day. 9 times out of 10, I do everything that I want to do that day. If not, I feel very, very bad. And the shame creeps in. But sometimes you have to pass the task on to the next day. So then, yeah, I create a list of everything that I want to do. And then I'll go through the list and I'll highlight I handwrite all my lists and I carry them around. Then I'll highlight my high value tasks, stuff that I must get done. Or rather, the things I have to start on first.
So would you have more than 3 on that top level tasks, or how many would be in the top level?
Yeah, I'll have, that list can be 3 things, that list can be 20 things. I'll sit down and I will write out everything that I'm working on and that I want to move forward. And then some days are really easy. And some days last forever. But I plan like Jeanine, so I do I use the 12-week years. So my weekly planning's done every quarter. So my weeks KPI wise is the same. It's the day to day that changes that I need to keep on top of, and I need to write down the projects that I want to spend my time working on. If I don't write it down, then what will happen is I'll have free time, and then I'll be like, oh, what do I have to work on? And then I'll forget. But having a list keeps me focused and keeps me moving through things.
What about you, Jonathan? Do you have a pre-sleep ritual?
Sometimes I need to get better with routines. So what I like to do, what helps me is having like a list. So literally just going on Google Docs and creating Jonathan's list for the day. Anything that doesn't get done just moves on to the next day. So someone taught me that years ago. He just really successful business owner. He said, just work off lists. Make a list of the 5 most important things for the week and just get through them. What about you, Ron?
Well, to be honest, Jonathan, for 35 years I was shite at this. Oh, that's a bad word. I'm sorry.
It's
I
an
was
Irish
really-
bad word. It doesn't resonate in the US. Don't worry. Keep going.
I was really bad at this. And I've worked hard at it the last number of months. Last 5 months or thereabouts. And what I've started to do is this. I've started to do 2 things. I've started to, every night I'd write out my top 3 things for tomorrow that I want to get done. And then I've 3 affirmations that I write, a page full of affirmations in my journal. That affirmation repeated. So I write it out, 25 times or whatever each one it is. Because those affirmations are my wants. So the idea is, or what I'm told by the experts is, my brain will then focus on those 3 wants and those 3 things I want to get done while I sleep to figure it all out.
So there's a mix for you of, task-oriented, actionable goals that need to be getting done, and also more aspirational, not aspirational, but the bigger picture goals that you want to achieve, or the really meaningful, big item things,
Yeah.
if you want to call them that.
Yeah, and one of the affirmations is around business. One of them is around, which is linked to business, but it's linked to a desire to own a property in a certain location, and the third one is a health one.
So Brad and Jeanine, I don't know who wants to take it first. Do you guys have something similar for your lives, or is it all action, task oriented things that you focus on?
I tried journaling. Didn't like journaling.
Yeah, and I don't think this is journaling, Brad, because I couldn't do journaling. I know I would be crap at it. It's more taking an affirmation, a goal, and you completely write it. So I'll give you my health one, right? So my health one is, and you write it in the present tense. So I don't know what 15 stone is in American, but I am 15 stone and have a flat tummy. So the idea is that when you write that out and you write it out 25 times a day or 25 times on a sheet, the same sentence, that it goes into the brain and you say it as if you're already there. So the brain then starts to take some action then to get you there or keep you there. Your subconscious brain. That's the psychology behind it.
Is that like when the
Um,
teachers made you write the thing on the chalkboard over and over and over again? I will
It
not talk
could
in class.
be.
I will not talk in class.
It is literally like that. So there must be something in that. I don't know what it is, but that, and it came from a book that Tim gave me. That's one of the things, the routines that they recommend in ninja selling.
In ninja selling.
Yeah, so that's where that came from. So I have my 3 affirmations, but there's a morning routine then as well that's equally as important. So in the morning, do you want to know the morning routine? So my morning routine now is, so I wake up at 6 o'clock and I do 30 minutes of meditation. So I meditate between 6 and 6:30. And then what I'll do is I'll open up the book and I'll write out the affirmations again. The same 3 affirmations, a full page. It takes about 10, 12 minutes to do in total. And then what I'll do is I get up then and the psychologists call the next hour the hour you get most stuff done in. I don't know why they call it that, but they say that you're really focused. So I go and I'll do something then strategic in that hour. It's two mornings a week. I write my book for an hour at that time. Other days I do different things. Sometimes I might have a meeting at that time. I do something before the meeting, then I do the meeting, but it takes up that hour. But do something creative. I might read a chapter of a book, something like that. It's not the same thing each morning, but I'll try and do something creative or strategic or work on something that's outside of day-to-day work.
So we're kind of on the subject of planning and time and focusing on the daily tasks that need to be done to make business happen. Jeanine, I come across a lot of people, not only in the photography industry, who say, I don't have time for that. Especially in the fully booked photographers, like, I don't have time to market my business. You're obviously a very busy lady. You have 2 kids. You run a very successful business with employees. You have, other activities that you enjoy and do and stuff to do. How do you what would you say to someone that says, I don't have time to do that?
So you don't have time to run
Bullshit.
a business. Yeah. I mean,
person on the podcast, you're going to get us a bad
that was
rating.
2. You've stolen all of my chances for bad words, Ronan. Shame. I would say then you don't have time to run a business. I mean, if you don't have time to market and do the business tasks, then it's a hobby. And be a hobbyist, which there's nothing wrong with that. If photography makes you happy as a hobby, do it as a hobby. But if you're going to make it a point to run a business, you have to have the time, you have to have the energy, and you have to have the desire to market it, because that's what makes it a business and not a hobby.
And I mean, sometimes when you're working on your business, like in your business doing a certain project, like, you might not have more time, and that's totally fine. You might be maxed out working on that specific project.
Wrong. No, there's always time to market. You never take the foot off the gas of marketing, because that's how you end up with the dips, right? And if you've ever read the book on the dip or that entrepreneurial roller coaster, a lot of people will market when they have nothing to do and when they're slow, and then they get a lot to do and they have a lot going on, and then they stop marketing because they don't think they have time for it. And then everything goes down. And then when they're down, they market and then they go back up. And that's where you end up with that roller coaster. So you can never take your foot off the gas of marketing.
It's not a lack of time. It's a choice. It's a choice. There's enough time. Jeanine has the same amount of hours in the day as anyone else has. Brad has the same amount of hours in the day as anyone else has. Jonathan has the same amount of hours in the day. I have the same amount of hours in the day as everyone has. It's your choice as to how you use that time.
So what I'm hearing is that it's important to prioritize your time. Prioritize it with certain activities that are must-haves.
Yeah, my goal, and I have found this to work well, and I can't remember where I even got this. It might have been a Seth Godin thing a long time ago on 2 hours of marketing a day. And it might not necessarily be every day, but on an average for the week, that if you're going to run your business and run it successfully and avoid the dips and the peaks, that 2 hours a day should be spent on marketing tasks. And I try to really stick to that. And it works.
So what does that mean? It means Jeanine doesn't do her own retouching.
It does mean Jeanine does not do her own retouching.
I guarantee if you ask photographers who say they don't have time for marketing, and you ask them, do you do all your own retouching? Oh, I could never outsource that. That's my art. And that's fine if you want to be a starving artist and you somebody else to do the marketing for you, right? They're the choice. Yeah. But if the marketing isn't getting done, if there's no time in your business for marketing, that's different than you have somebody else doing it for you so you can retouch, or you choose to retouch instead of doing your marketing. Are you a business or are you an artist? You can't be both.
Interesting turn of events.
What did you say, Jonathan?
I said interesting turn of events.
Interesting turn of events. How so?
Well, I mean, we've gone from day in the life of Jeanine photography studio to you can't be an artist and a business owner.
Now, that's not what I meant. What I meant is you can't sacrifice the business tasks for art. You can be the artist in your business if you hire other people around you and you manage them to do the other tasks. You can't choose to be an artist over a business person and those business tasks don't get done. There is a difference.
There is a difference. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And you got to find, for those who love the art, you can find the art in the business. There's a lot of art to be said for the fine workings of how to run the business. And there's art in that as well. You just got to look at it that way.
So I have another question for both Brad and Jeanine. Sometimes we see people, with their marketing get an idea and they overthink it and contemplate it, think about it over and over again and never actually do it. When you get an idea for your business, Jeanine, what do you do? What's your process for implementing that idea?
So when I get an idea, I first look at it and figure out, is this one of my good ideas? Is it one that, is implementable? Is it a pipe dream? Is it, where does it fall into the realm once I've come off the high of having this really cool idea? Then once I do that litmus test, right? Like, is this something that would really work well for my studio? Or is it maybe a better idea to pass along to someone else for their studio, right? Because, we all have different businesses and different ideal clients. If I decide that it is something that is perfect for us, then I figure out where it'll fall in the timeline and when it's going to be implementable. So a great idea. I've had this idea that I've been mulling on and working on, but I know it's not something I can implement going into fourth quarter. So I'm already working on the idea that this is going to be something I launch for January 2024. And it'll be something for 2024 that we're going to launch to our clients. But I'm working on it now. It's not a procrastination. It's just there's no way to launch it with the holiday season. It would be too many mixed marketing messages. If that makes any sense, right? So it's a great idea, but it would get lost in everything that we do for fall and Christmas. So it's going to get something that's launched. So I look at the strategy of the whole year, which is the nice thing about when you actually plan your business and you know what's coming every quarter. Then when you have a new idea, you can figure out where it works in. Is it something we can throw in right now? Great, let's do it. Let's get on it. And if it is one of those last minute things that I implement, we do it right away. And we'll get I can get this done. I can implement it. I can get it ready for next month. Here's what we need to do and we get on it. If it's something that needs to be put into a plan for the future, then we make out our task list and what things need to get done by when. So for example, this idea that I have that we're going to launch in January 24, I know that I'll need a logo design for it. I'll need a whole little marketing message to go with it. And so I'll plug that into my designer's work flow as he has some downtimes over there, which there's not going to be a lot going into the fall, but when he has some weeks, I'm like, hey, I need you to work on this now so we can have it ready for January. So worst case, I don't want to be like January 1st and be like, crap, I had this great idea last year. I need to launch it now. I'm not ready for it. And then it gets postponed. Right. So that's kind of how we work it in. It just depends on if it's an immediate idea that needs to get implemented or if it's something that needs to get implemented in the future, in which case then we work out a timeline to make sure that we meet that deadline.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is there's a little bit of analysis to, determine is it just a wild fantasy or whether it's actually feasible for the business. And then there's a lot of implementation or planning to implement depending on the scale of the idea and the timeline. Before I ask Brad the same question, what if an idea you implement fails? What's your next course of action?
So it fails. Yeah, I mean, it's better than not having tried something. We have lots of ideas that fail. That's part of it. I mean, not everything is going to work right away. So if it fails, I'll look at why it failed. Maybe it was just something Jeanine wanted to do and it wasn't really something that resonated. Okay, well, on to the next thing. If it failed for a legit reason other than it just wasn't a good idea, then I'll look at why. Like, was something wrong with the ad? If it was a marketing concept, what was wrong with the ad? Maybe I need a different image. Maybe I need a different ad copy. Maybe I need a different headline, and we'll test a few different things if I truly feel it was a good idea. And that's a gut feel, I think, as a business owner too. Like knowing your client. If I know my ideal client like the back of my hand. If I truly believe, Jonathan, that this idea is something my ideal client would want, I'll fight for the idea and I'll keep testing different things until I know that it's right. If my gut all along was kind of like, I don't know if this is something my client's going to like, but let's test it. And then it fails. I'm like, yeah, I was right. It's not going to work. You know what I mean? So it's one of those it's a gut check for me. If I know it's going to work and I know it's something, then I will keep testing with it until I get it right to make it run. Otherwise, I'll just look at it and be like, yeah, that really wasn't a good idea. But lessons learned, we'll learn from it, figure out why it didn't work, and move on to the next thing.
Key point there was it's all about the client, not you.
It is all about the client. And you have to know your client. I mean, there's no point in me trying something that works for Brad's clients. There's no point in Brad trying something that works for Jeanine's clients. You have to know your client, and that's that ultimate litmus test. And then that way it allows you to judge, I know my clients will love this. I know they would. I'm just not getting the message out there the right way. So how can I fix that?
All right, Brad, to finish up, same question for you. When you think of an idea for the studio you want to implement, what's your process for actually taking that and making it happen?
Type of idea, John?
You're not supposed to ask me a question back.
What type of idea is it?
Depends on, I don't know.
If it's a marketing idea, I do it straight away.
Okay.
So if I have an idea that's based on marketing, because I'm in complete control of that, I can build the funnels, I can run the ads, I can write the copy. That's all me. I do that straight away. I do not let that get in my way, no matter what that idea is. Because there's been too many times throughout my life where I've had a wild idea on a Wednesday afternoon because I'm short on bookings for the week, and then that idea not only generates me the bookings for that week, but for the month as a whole. So you just got to swing, especially in marketing, because that was all my job. That was just me. So there was no collaboration needed. I can just act and move fast, because doing that, it solves problems in your business. So for me, I was responsible for bookings. So if bookings were low or slow, I had to act to get them back on gear. Sometimes ads were failing. It's why I've got such great, I'm unconsciously competent on ads. And when members have ad problems, I can just look at them and think, oh yeah, that's why it's failed. And then I can suggest them reasons to fix it. Because I've done it for that long and fixed ads that much that it's easy. Like I used to, back when I was in the studio more full time, I used to escape the studio at every lunchtime, generally around 1 to 2 o'clock. And I would go to the gym. And I'd go meet one of my best friends, Jake, personal trainer. I'd go train with Jake. Driving over there, I'd be thinking about all my marketing problems. I'd unload them all to him while I was bashing some weights about. And on the way back, I would have a solution to fix it. Because my brain, I wouldn't even be focused on lifting weights. My body would be doing that part. My brain would be working on, right, how we're going to fix this, what we're going to do, how we're going to write the ad copy, what's the funnel going to look like, what's going to be the offer. Then when I got back to work, I'd run the ad and it would work. Oh, it wouldn't. But I always went on the mantra that you only need to be successful once. You can swing 100 times, you just need to hit once and you're fine.
So here's something I've heard both of you say. You've both talked about killing two birds with one stone. So Brad, you've talked about solving problems while you exercise. So the body's getting what it needs, right? And Jeanine, you've talked about listening to podcasts when you're driving the kids to school and into the office, right? And you're learning from them. And it's interesting. I do something similar. I go for an hour walk every day and I listen to audiobooks when I'm walking for the hour. I wonder, is that normal?
Normal, no. Well, it depends. If you're an entrepreneur business owner, I think it's normal. So you want to maximize use of time. I do not look like a man who's been having personal training 3 times a week for 10 years. I do not look like that man. And it's because my mind is elsewhere during those sessions. I'm not going to look good and get in really great shape. I'm going because I know that I can de-stress myself from the day or from the week or from the month. Then I can work on all the little problems I've got in my head. It's my best thinking time. But I find all my answers. I'm sure when you're on your walks as well, Ronan, when you're in the car, Jeanine, that a lot of answers come to you. The questions you've been searching for.
What I haven't taken to yet, Brad, is I haven't taken to when I get the ideas texting them to Susan so I don't forget them.
It'd kill you.
I do that all the time. I text my very loving wife all my ideas and things to do. But I always follow it with ignore that. Ignore it. A big list, ignore it. So I know that if I put that in notes, I could lose it. But if I text it to Ruth, then she's 100% going to question me about it later.
Don't get any wild ideas, Ron.
All right, Jonathan. I think it's time for you to wind this one up for us, Jonathan.
Yeah, so really interesting podcast episode. You know, we got a bit of insight into what happens in the day-to-day life of a studio owner, photographer. And yeah, if you like this episode, make sure to click on the subscribe button, share it with all your photographer friends. If you are interested in becoming a fully booked photographer, the best place for you to do so by taking our free 30-day challenge. So in 30 days, we will help you become fully booked in your business. Just click the button on this page if you're listening on the page, or click the link on this page. Go sign up for that now. It has already changed so many photographers' lives just by taking the free challenge, implementing. They've been fully booked 3, 4, 5 weeks out. Go ahead and do that now. That's it from the team. Bye from me. Hope you enjoyed this episode.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.